Not customer service when somebody lives 130 miles away.
Or we can take either Custer's check, money.
I know. I tell you, when I walk out of this damn bank, I'm going to get on Twitter. I'm going to blast the hell out of JP Morgan for not taking cash at a bank. That's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
There's the money order.
Do I feel that way? That's crazy. It's crazy. Somebody walks in the customer gets cash and you won't take it. And you won't make an exception.
I'm going to leave the building or I will call the police. Or we
Lady, I don't care who the you call. This is ridiculous not to take cash on the.
It is changed. It's not me personally. I appreciate you not yelling at me like that.
Yeah, but you have the ability to do customer service. Why can you not take a $50
I can
bill?
just tell it to you. Okay, let's see it.
Lose me like 100 or 200.
So it does have to be checked.
I asked to print it, but I don't know why I didn't.
So if my mom walks up with a $50 bill, you're not going to take the cash from her?
If it's her credit.
Not customer.
Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem El Shai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahweh Shai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahweh Shai. And pretty much, this is the game plan. All right, the 2030 agenda, which is the New World Order agenda for all countries. The goal is for the central bankers to regain control over society, because you have a lot of so-called money laundering going on. You got a lot of scams. You got all kind of things going on. And the central bankers, they don't like that, because the central bankers, which is the tribe of Amalek, descendants of Esau, the so-called white man in Ceylon, they are the central bankers. They are the shadow government. All right, they are the globalists and elitists, because you got these people. They don't like to name names. They don't like to really say too much, and that always irks the hell out of me when I watch videos like that. Shadow government. Like, who the hell are these people? What's their names? What's their family lineage? Now, we know according to the scriptures, all right, them small hats, them ish people, they're the ones that's in charge of this NWO agenda, all right? And what you don't realize is that all countries, they have one central bank in it. The goal is to get rid of commercial banks. They want to get rid of cash. The commercial banks was the middleman between the central bank and the customer that has a bank account at that commercial bank. The central bank provides its financial services through the commercial bank for the customer. So everybody worldwide is locked under the central banker system. All right. So now that there's this push for the CBDC to replace the dollar, cash, fiat currency, they no longer need the commercial banks anymore. And this is why within America, you have all these banks closing down. Why? Because they're not needed anymore. Because now the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, is coming directly from the central bank. All right. So we're witnessing the great global reset. We're living through it. And now all they need is a major cyber attack in order to fully have people use the CBDC, especially within America. America is like the last step. And the final last step is for them to put the CBDC, which is their programmable digital money, on a device that you see on the screen and make it mandatory throughout all countries. That's what the hour of temptation is about. That's the great time of testing. All right. So now, quick lesson. Proverbs 22:7. It says, the rich ruleth over the poor. Now, who's the rich? Does that mean somebody, that's a doctor that make a quarter of $1,000,000 every year, so they rich? No. The rich is the Edomites, all right, the so-called white man in Ceylon, the central bankers, the ish people, the ones that came up with this system that all countries is under. I don't care if you speak Chinese, you speak Spanish, you speak any dialect, you a certain skin color, you got a certain hair texture. Every nation on the planet Earth is under the central banker system. All countries is going to adopt the CBDC system, and all countries is going to make mandatory through the command of the central bank, central bankers that run all these countries. All countries is going to make mandatory that RFID chip implant, which is the mark of the beast according to the scriptures. All right. So the rich is the ones that came up with this system. Like I said, all countries have central banks in them. All right. And they're going to use that power that they have over these countries, how the central bankers, which are Edomites, they control all these countries through the money supply. So they don't care who writes the laws. All right. And if you go against their agendas, they're just going to delete you, if you know what I'm talking about. So it says the rich ruleth over the poor. Who's the poor? The people in all countries that operate under the central banker system. It says the borrower, which is the poor, is servant to the lender, which is the rich, which are the central bankers. And here's the proof. Go online, right? I typed in get rid of all commercial banks. This popped up. It says, do central banks control commercial banks? What's the commercial banks? Chase, Wells Fargo, just to give you some examples, right? It says a central bank is the institution that manages the monetary system within a country, not just America, within a country. That's worldwide, all right? By creating monetary policies regulating commercial banks and providing financial services. In the United States, the central bank is called the Federal Reserve. So what the hell is going on in America? You got over 3,000 banks that are closing down, all right? Over 3,000 bank locations, and there's still more happening every single day, all right? Every single month. These commercial bank locations are closing down. That was there for years. Why? Because they don't need the commercial banks no more, and they don't need cash anymore. There's only going to be one true central bank left, which is going to be what? The Federal Reserve within America. Now, within these other countries, their commercial banks are going to close down too. And whatever central bank is within those countries, that's going to be the last remaining bank. All right. So as you can see, this NWO agenda is about the central bankers regaining control over all these countries. All right. So that's it with that. So that links up with Proverbs 22:7. Now I'm gonna end it with, I'm gonna go to this, Salaki. NLT, 2 Corinthians 2:11. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us. The Satan is talking about is not talking about the angel Satan. It's talking about the Satan-like individuals that run the planet Earth. All right. Pursuing the 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, Daniel the 2nd chapter. There's plenty of scriptures that hint that Esau, Edom, is ruling in these last days. And who are these people that you could physically see? The so-called white man and sea line. They're the ones that's in charge of this NWO 2030 agenda. All right. So he's trying to outsmart us with these false flag attacks. All right. You got the different terrorist attacks. You got the migrant situation going on. He's trying to deceive you through the media. He's going to use celebrities. He's going to use non-believers because they're in gross darkness. All right. So he has spread a lot of lies and deception. And he's trying to paint this 2030 agenda, right, the great global reset, as a thing of convenience. Oh, the world is evolving. We have to make the world a better place after the pandemic. But it has to be under their democracy, under their rules, right? And the day I'm talking about is the Edomites. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, right? You can't outsmart us because we have the Holy Spirit through the blood and sacrifice of Yahushua. It says, for we, the elect of the nation of Israel, the ones that was born with the Holy Spirit, it says, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. And what's his evil scheme? The 2030 agenda, which is the New World Order agenda, which is found in the scriptures. So you can't outsmart us with your agendas. All right. We know all about your agendas because through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem El Shai, it's in the scriptures. It's already recorded. All right. Now, this is it. It says, right, New World Order, United Nations agenda from 2021 to 2030, mission goals. It says one world government, one world cashless currency, What do you think the CBDC is? All right. See, America is way behind. And I feel like in 2024, if we get to that point in November, what is the elections, they're going to talk about that. Oh, America is behind. The petrodollar is being challenged by the Chinese, yuan, right? What can we do? How can we hop on board and implement the Fed coin or whatever the hell the CBDC within America is going to be called? What's holding us back? Because they already signed in 2022, in March, I believe, you could search it up, about digital assets, converting or allocating, your assets into digital assets, which is ultimately referred to what? Whatever money is in your bank account, right, is going to be turned into the CBDC. So that's the point of the cyber attack, to force you on to this system, this platform, the FedNow, because the CBDC is going to run on the FedNow platform, which is coming from America's central bank, which is the Federal Reserve. All right. So it says one world central bank. That's why the commercial banks are closing, because they don't need the commercial banks no more, and they don't need cash anymore, because everything is getting ready to be a digital cashless society. All right. And the currency is going to come directly from the central bank, not the commercial banks. So now the commercial banks are beginning to close down, which is going to lead into a major cyber attack or some type of false flag attack. And then everything is just going to be digital. And then they're going to make the chip mandatory. All right. So you go down here. It says microchip society for purchasing, travel, tracking, and controlling. So the CBDC and this great global reset and this new system is going to revolve around the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip implant, because the CBDC is programmable digital money. So in order for you to physically use programmable digital money, it has to be physically programmed on a device. And they plan to do that and make it mandatory. All right. So that's it with that. So now it's ended with this. NLT, Revelation 3:10. Because you got to see how they doing this. All right. It says on Revelation 3:10, NLT. It says, because you have obeyed my command to persevere, right? Brothers is fighting a good fight of faith. We enduring through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem El Shai, no matter what we go through, infirmities, financial losses, all right? Losses with women, children, the world rejecting us, so forth and so on. Brothers deal with a lot. We don't talk about it too much on camera, but, brothers deal with a lot off camera, right? It's not easy making it to a Saturday, when you got a camp day. It ain't easy. Some brothers, they work, they want to do videos, all right? But, brothers are stressed out. This captivity. That's why we need Yahweh Shai to free us from these heathen, all right? Mainly the Edomites, the so-called white man in the sea line. But ultimately from these curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28, all right? So it says, I will protect you from the great time of testing, a.k.a. the hour of temptation, when they make mandatory the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip implant, all right? It says that will come upon the whole world. Why is it going to come upon the whole world? Because all countries, they have a central bank in it, all right? It says to test those who belong to this world. So if you love your life, if you was an individual, you took the JAB because your livelihood was threatened, then that means you love the world, because you took, 2 shots, a booster. Some of you got the 1 shot, the JJ, right? So if you failed that test, you definitely going to fail this test, because this test is going to be way worse than the pandemic, all right? So, hey, man, Lord willing, Yahweh Shai, he's with us in these days to come. The final prophecies is getting ready to take place. A global economic collapse. Crime is going to go up, in the form of Jacob's trouble. The hour of temptation is fastly approaching, all right? Leading up to what? The destruction of Babylon the Great, which is America, North America, all right? And salvation is going to happen at the same time the missiles is shot off. All right. And right before the missiles is getting ready to hit, we're going to receive salvation in the twinkling of an eye. Like how Paul said, we shall be changed in the twinkling of an eye. You know, Peter said we're going to scarcely be saved. All right. So, hey, man, Lord willing, we are part of the elect.